Hello there, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the southeast. The 77-year-old woman with suspected blood clots forced to wait in a chair for 4 days for a hospital bed in Kent.
She's in tears. She's in desperate pain, she's cold.
The father from Sussex who says mould and damp in his flat have left him fearing for his life.
Also tonight, a new year, another new COVID variant. It's more contagious, but is it more dangerous?
Also, we're not kidding, the unusual way some people are disposing of their Christmas trees this year. Good evening. A man has told us of the chaos and confusion inside a Kent hospital emergency department where his 77-year-old wife has been forced to spend 4 days on a waiting room chair.
David Yemen says medical staff are trying their best, but there are simply too many patients for them to cope.
And with an NHS critical incident still in place in Sussex, people across the southeast are being told to only attend A&E if it's a life or death emergency. Kit Bradshaw has our report.
Let's hope this keeps her warm and comfortable.
These blankets are what David Yemen's wife Sandra has asked for. She spent 4 nights away from their Sittingbourne home and without a bed, forced to sleep in a hospital waiting room chair.
She's in tears. She's in desperate pain, she's cold. She doesn't know what's happening. She's not being fed or properly. The nursing staff are working their socks off. I don't know whether they're coming or going. There's just not enough of them. Some of the relatives are helping people out that haven't got relatives with them. So it's basic chaos.
Sandra Yemen had been advised by a GP to go to accident and emergency over the weekend due to her severe abdominal pain and past medical history. She was brought by her daughter to the A&E at Medway Maritime Hospital on Sunday afternoon. Despite suspected blood clots in her spleen, she only got a trolley to lie on yesterday. Unlike other hospitals in the southeast, there is no critical incident here. The last one was stood down 2 days before Christmas. But managers say the emergency department remains very busy and people should only attend if their condition is life-threatening. They've also set up a helpline for concerned relatives to call if they're worried about their loved one's care. After we contacted the NHS Trust today, Sandra was finally moved to a proper bed on a ward after 5 days in a crowded room. In a statement, Chief Executive Jane Black said, "We are very sorry for Mrs Yemen's experience. We continue to see unprecedented demands on our emergency department services. Our staff are working tirelessly to ensure all patients are seen as quickly as possible." Away from A&E, there are also reports of widespread difficulty getting GP appointments.
Over the last few years, we've lost almost 1,900 full-time equivalent GPs in England. And this is putting a huge pressure on the appointments that we can offer to our patients. And the mix of having less GPs, having higher demand, and the current increase in infections has made the situation particularly worse.
The current pressures facing the health service are not unique to one hospital or one part of the country. This is a national issue, but for the families involved, it's a very personal one too. Kit Bradshaw, ITV News, Sittingbourne.
An East Sussex NHS Trust is limiting patients visiting wards due to a surge in flu and COVID-19 cases in the county. From today, only visits in compassionate circumstances will be allowed. It will also apply to people attending the emergency department.
The moment a motorcycle was stolen in East Grinstead has been captured on camera. It shows a man approaching the red Yamaha before it was loaded onto a trailer. It happened in St James Road on the 20th of December.
A father from Sussex says mould and damp in his flat have left him fearing for his life. Kevin Nash says he suffered serious chest infections and pneumonia since moving into the property in Stone Cross.
Well, his landlords say they've inspected Mr Nash's property to diagnose the problem and offered to rehouse him while repairs are carried out. With more, here's Malcolm Shaw.
In the cupboard, beneath the kitchen sink, a layer of thick black mould. In the bathroom, more signs of damp. And in the bedroom, the skirting board and paintwork discoloured too. Kevin Nash has been living here for 5 years and says his health has worsened to the point where he fears for his future.
It's become bad enough to make me sick, to give me blood infections, to give me chest infections, upper respiratory tract infections, lower respiratory infections, pneumonia, pleurisy. It's got to the stage now where the mould is starting to take over the house, and it's worrying. I feel like I'm not gonna make it.
Mr. Nash says he's tried to tackle the mould and damp himself, but it always comes back. He claims he's raised the issue repeatedly with his landlord, the Orbit Housing Group, but to no avail. Orbit have given us a statement. They say, we've carried out an intensive inspection of Mr. Nash's home to diagnose the cause of the damp issues and offered to move Mr. Nash to alternative accommodation whilst the necessary repair work is carried out. They also say, we have offered additional welfare support.
I'm not a builder. I don't know where the mould's coming from, but it seems to be coinciding with the rainy periods, March and November. So my guess would be excessive condensation, which can't be dealt with because I can't be expected to have my windows open all the time and the heating on, which was the advice I was given for all of it.
Mr. Nash says he has to carefully monitor his health, especially the level of oxygen in his blood. His doctor has recommended he's rehoused urgently. While we were filming, Kevin received a call from Orbit arranging to visit him next week. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News, Stone Cross.
A contraflow system along the M20 in Kent will be removed this weekend. Operation Brock was put in place last month to manage the flow of traffic heading across the Channel over Christmas. It'll be removed from between junctions 8 and 9 this Friday and Saturday night. Diversions will be in place. The 50-mile-per-hour speed limit, though, will remain as roadworks are set to resume.
A report has found house prices in the southeast have risen more than the rest of the country. The figures from Halifax revealed Hove was in the top 20 most expensive places to live in the country. The value of homes there rose by 30% in 2 years.
In sport, League Two strugglers Gillingham have appointed club legend Andy Hessenthaler as their new head of recruitment. Hessenthaler made 365 appearances for the Gills as a player and had 3 spells with the club as manager. He joins after leaving his job as manager of National League Southside Dover Athletic. Former Portsmouth and Wolves manager Kenny Jackett has been appointed as Gillingham's director of football.
Next tonight, a new COVID variant thought to be responsible for a rapid increase in COVID cases in America has been found in the UK.
The Omicron subvariant, which has been called Kraken, appears to spread very quickly, but it's not yet known whether it causes more serious illness. Well, for the latest, let's cross to the newsroom and talk to Stacey Poole for more on this. Stacey, what have you been finding out today?
Well, I've been speaking to dozens of scientists and experts today, and there's definitely concern, mainly because it's new and unknown. But one thing is for sure, it spreads far more easily than Omicron.
We know that it's more infectious. It carries a mutation which makes it stickier to our cells. It's able to get into them better, and that's presumably why it's more infectious. Beyond that, it doesn't appear to be causing any more of a severe disease. Again, it's early days. That picture could change, but it doesn't look like it will at this stage.
So more contagious, but not necessarily more serious, although there are concerns that the current vaccines won't be as effective because they were based on the previous variants.
As new variants have emerged, then overall vaccine effectiveness has decreased a little bit, but they have remained very, very good at preventing severe disease and mortality. Now, this new subvariant is a variant of Omicron, and the vaccines being rolled out across the country right now are the bivalent boosters, which means they are tailored to work on Omicron specifically. So although we may see some impact upon the effectiveness of the current vaccines, they should still provide very, very high protection against severe COVID disease.
So, Stacey, what can people do to protect themselves?
Well, if it's more transmissible and the vaccines may be slightly less effective, we have to look at other mitigations. And many doctors are calling for more ventilation, the use of air purifiers in indoor spaces and the return of masks.
What we need are approaches that are agnostic to variants. So whatever variant it is, ultimately it's spreading through the air. So measures like ventilation, air cleaning, and masks are going to be far more robust against these variants that are able to evade natural immunity and vaccines better. And that's precisely why we need multi-layered approach rather than relying on vaccines alone, which will not be sufficient to prevent the spread of these variants.
Well, new government guidelines have now been issued telling people to stay at home if they are unwell. And this is particularly true of children where vaccination levels are lower.
There is new guidance that suggests that if your child is unwell, to keep them off school just for a few days. I think that's sensible, and it will help alleviate the burdens on COVID in children at least a little bit.
So the next few weeks will be crucial in trying to minimise the spread. If we want to prevent the dramatic rise seen in the United States, doctors say everyone has to play their part in reducing transmission. OK, Stacey, for the time being, thank you. Now you're watching ITV News in the Meridian region. Still to come on our programme this evening, the cost of fly tipping as it's revealed dumping illegal waste has reached a 10-year high. So what's being done to tackle the problem?
And making warmer, the town using thermal imaging cameras to measure the heat escaping from homes.
Plenty more, of course, from us any time of the day or night on our website. There's the address, itv.com/Meridian. The phone number, if you've got a story you think we should be covering, 0808 1010 095. And as ever, you can follow us on social media.
A new centre for homeless people has opened in Horsham, jointly funded by the local council and the charity Turning Tides.
Roffey Place used to be a Bible college. Now it's the answer to many homeless people's prayers. Phil Hornby reports.
Warmth in midwinter, food when you want it, and good company. That's why this new centre's been a lifeline for homeless people around Horsham. The first residents have moved in, like Gareth. Health problems meant he lost his job and ended up living in his car for 4 months. He went to the council for help.
They introduced me to this place, so I took it with both hands. The staff, they're brilliant. Very hands-on, very helpful. You know, if you've got any struggles at all, they're always there.
I want to help people, I want to help them get back on their feet, and everyone deserves a second chance, no matter what they've done in life.
It is extraordinarily unusual. I mean, I've been working in homelessness now for over 30 years in the Sussex area. To actually have a project of this size with so much land, with so many facilities, I've not known it.
Andy is a volunteer here now. He used to be homeless.
Literally, you find yourself at a trap door and you just fall down. I found myself homeless. Turning Tides gave me that chance to rebuild my life. It hasn't been easy, but I'm in a position now where I can give back and give that gratitude and that hope to other people.
The charity's hoping to raise enough funds to complete the work here, and the residents have hope that they can turn the tide and rebuild their lives. Phil Hornby, ITV News.
Thermal imaging cameras are being used in one part of Kent to see how much heat is being lost from homes.
Yes, surveys are being carried out in Woolmer near Dover to encourage people to insulate their properties. The aim is to cut the cost of rising energy bills, which some families are, of course, struggling to pay. Here's Tom Savides.
The lower the heat, the less heat you're actually losing.
Do you know how much heat is escaping from your home?
The yellow areas are where the heat's going, so you can see your door is losing some heat.
Dennis Purton-Smith was unaware that his old double-glazed windows and doors were in desperate need of insulation. Until now.
I didn't realise how much was escaping. I was wondering if there's anything we can do about it, you know, to stop it.
Why is it important to keep your house warm?
Well, my wife is disabled and we need to keep her warm. a fairly steady temperature.
This thermal imaging camera pinpoints where the problems are. The yellow areas are where heat is seeping out. A few months ago, Mr. Purton Smith was paying £30 per month for gas and electricity via direct debit. He's now paying £90. Like so many others, he's desperate to save energy and reduce his bills.
It's getting harder and harder, what with the cost of living and the food, the fuel and everything else going up.
More than 4,000 households have been invited to take part in this survey involving this thermal imaging camera. So far, more than 200 have agreed to take part, the majority of which have shown that insulation work needs to be done. The surveys by Walmer Town Council are free. Householders are then advised who to contact for grants or where to get tips on how to insulate their homes themselves.
It may be that there are major works that need doing. We have had people that have been able to save money just by putting a pair of thick curtains up, a draft excluder, these kind of things, they all help.
The scheme has proved so popular that more volunteers are now being trained to use the thermal imaging kit.
Whatever little bit we can do to help has got to be a bonus.
The government has given all households £400 off their energy bills to be paid in instalments between October last year and March this year. But if homes are unable to retain heat, it could be money being thrown out of windows, walls and doors. Tom Savides, ITV News, Walmer.
Now, experts say cases of fly tipping have reached a 10-year high, while enforcement is at a 10-year low. The cost to the economy of illegal waste dumping is estimated to be £1 billion a year.
Well, this evening's Tonight programme looks at the problem and hears calls for much stiffer penalties, including prison sentences. Kevin Ashford reports.
Neil Fuller runs a timber merchant's. Fly tipping outside his premises has been a problem for years.
So here's an example where you can see a van's pulled up, and this is the roundabout just outside the entrance of our site. And you can see there's already a huge amount of fly tipping already on the roundabout. And this is absolutely brazen because there's a sign there that says we've got a camera. They may as well be at the council tip. And there comes a bed. Job done.
Campaigners say the amount of fly tipping has rocketed in recent years, much of it carried out by well-organised criminals.
They're making vast sums of money by creating these great mountains of waste, and they feel untouched by the fines should they ever be prosecuted. This is undoubtedly a national crisis. We're spending billions of pounds clearing this rubbish up, which we can ill afford, and the cost to the environment is just completely unacceptable.
Local authorities are fighting back. Here at Dartford in Kent, cameras use the latest artificial intelligence technology to send automatic alerts about possible fly tipping, dramatically reducing the problem at this site.
Where I stand at the moment, this area was absolutely jammed full of fly tip of various items of waste, from builders' waste to housing waste to commercial waste. There were rats running around everywhere. We had hundreds upon hundreds of pieces of rotting meat that had looked like they'd been sort of taken out of a freezer and just left there.
One factor behind the rise in fly tipping is thought to be the increase in landfill tax, which has pushed up the cost of the legitimate disposal of waste.
A landfill tax is actually done a lot of good because it's encouraged people away from disposing of their waste from landfill into proper recycling. The problem with increasing the sanctions in the landfill tax, it's had the effect of encouraging this illegal fly tipping and illegal dumping even worse.
The government told the Tonight programme they were taking steps to tackle waste crime, including reforming the licensing system and introducing mandatory digital waste tracking. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
And you can watch Tonight Fly Tipping Dirty Britain at 8:30 here on ITV1.
And the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30 with a preview. Here's Mary Nightingale.
Coming up on the programme, Prince Harry accuses his brother, the Prince of Wales, of knocking him to the ground in a leaked extract from his memoir, Spare. The worsening of royal relations is revealed just days before an ITV interview, during which Harry is asked about the broken bond between the brothers.
Wouldn't your brother say to you, Harry, how could you do this to me? After everything we went through, wouldn't that be what he would say?
He'd probably say all sorts of different things.
The government brings forward new laws to try to limit the impact of strikes. Tens of thousands attend the funeral of Pope Benedict XVI in the Vatican. And the impact here in the UK of 2022, the hottest year on record. Well, do join me for those stories and much more at 6:30.
Now, in the third and final part of our series, we're looking at whether the current demand for mass-produced cheap fashion items is sustainable and what the long-term impact on the planet could be.
The fast fashion industry churns out 100 billion garments a year and only recycles 1% of them. But pre-loved clothing sites are also becoming more popular, bringing hope that the trend for recycled clothes could be here to stay. Here's Amrit Birdie.
Whether you call it second-hand, thrifting or vintage, pre-loved clothes are having a moment, with apps like Depop and Vinted drawing in millions of customers. This warehouse is home to thousands of second-hand garments, which will eventually be sold online for sites such as Oxfam and eBay. From wetsuits to wedding dresses, there are warehouses like this up and down the country filled with pre-loved clothes ready to be sold and bought online. Some of them are brilliant quality, others even have designer labels, and yet fast fashion is still attracting millions of us online. It's a trend that doesn't appear to be slowing down anytime soon. Last year, the global market value of second-hand and resale clothing was estimated to be worth around £79 billion, lagging behind the £109 billion fast fashion is thought to be worth. And by 2030, that's predicted to go up to more than £164 billion. Despite its ever-growing popularity, fast fashion is widely condemned for its negative impact on the planet, something that those who work in the second-hand clothing industry say they are helping to counterbalance.
The Charity Retail Association say that charity retail prevents 300,000 tonnes of clothing going to landfill each year, which is incredible, and they play a big part.
Diana Yu Pritchard is a sustainability expert and seamstress from Lewis. She says the impact the clothing industry is currently having on our planet is devastating.
There's a new word for fast fashion, it's ultra fast fashion. Apart from all the sort of environmental issues to do with the fast fashion industry, the overproduction of fast fashion is becoming one of the massive issues. Basically, they need to sort of reduce production by about 95%, and it needs to happen yesterday.
If second-hand just isn't your thing, scientific advances in clothing manufacturing means brands can source materials more sustainably now, without passing the cost on to the customer.
Things like cottons, which are really not very good for the environment. They're not made in, they include a lot of water, and the processes that people put through are not the greatest when making it. We've swapped to tencels, which are wood pulps. So we carry a lot of tencel. And then we also have made swaps into like recycled cotton, and we also do compare like recycled cottons to cottons that are made out of plastic bottles and stuff like that, and to really understand like which one is better.
Many fast fashion brands, including big names like Boohoo and Shein, have made pledges to become more environmentally friendly. But when it comes to fashion and the future of our planet, there's no getting away from the responsibility that lies in the hands and the wallets of the shopper. Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
Now, what's your idea of a perfect meal to wrap up the festive season?
I was just thinking I'm 87% cheese at this point, so anything other than that. Well, residents of Curley's Farm at Laysdown on the Isle of Sheppey have spent the day feasting on Christmas trees. And they've been so popular that the farm wants to get hold of more. It's good news for the environment and, says the farm's head of charity, it's good for the goats.
So the reason why we're asking people to donate their Christmas trees is for our pygmy goats. It's a boredom breaker. It gives them something to do. They're full of antioxidants. They're good for them, so they've got lots of vitamin C. But also it's a way of recycling Christmas, so it doesn't go into landfill.
Kyle, nicely said, Kyle from Curly's Farm there. So look, there they are again, tucking into it. Now, I haven't taken my Christmas tree down yet.
Well, just find some goats.
No, but the problem is that, you know, I don't know whether they're quite prickly and how nutritious. It's just a bit dry,
they seem to be loving
it?
it. They seem to be loving it. Let's see if we're going to be loving the weather with the details. Here's Manali.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello there, good evening to you. As we head towards the end of the week and into the weekend, our weather looks unsettled. It's going to be windy with spells of rain. If we take a look at the bigger picture, this is a weather front that brings a band of some wet and windy weather for a time later on tonight, but that'll clear through quite quickly. Behind it, a ridge of high pressure building in for Friday. So once the rain clears through, it's looking like a really nice day. But then waiting out the wings, out towards the west, you can see the next low pressure system to move in from the Atlantic. So just in time for the weekend, we're going to see further windy conditions with showers or longer spells of rain. Now, back to the here and now. Through this evening, it's cloudy skies, outbreaks of light rain initially, but the winds will start to strengthen tonight ahead of that band of rain to move in. Some heavy rainfall for a time, but generally clearing through quite quickly. Overnight lows tonight of 7 to 9 degrees Celsius. And then as we head into tomorrow morning, yes, the rain will clear through and then the sunshine will break out. So it's going to be a really nice day, I think. It will be windy initially, but the winds will slowly start to ease. So a breezy day, generally dry for a large part of the day. The cloud will build into the afternoon and temperatures tomorrow will be fresher compared to today. We are looking at highs tomorrow afternoon of 10, 11 degrees Celsius. More wet and windy weather to come in through tomorrow night into Saturday. But for now, here are your high times for tomorrow. Hastings 10:43 and again at 11:08 tomorrow night. And here's confirmation of that unsettled weekend. Wet, windy weather through Saturday. Further showers on Sunday. At least Monday is offering up a little bit more of a drier day. Bye-bye.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
So just quickly, are your decorations down or are they not down?
I've taken some of them down, but the rest will come down probably tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, OK.
Tomorrow night. But I've got time, apparently. I'm driving around. I've got a bin bag with my door wreath in it. Yeah, maybe I should send it to the farm for the goats.
Need some goats.
Yeah, see you later on. I think we're out of time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.